Hello and welcome to today's Open Telecom Cloud Community webinar. Today we have two guests together with us. It's Thomas and Tree. So thank you a lot, both of you, for having you here. Today we have the topic of OpenShift meets Open Telecom Cloud. With this, then I will hand over at first to Tree. And thank you a lot for having you both there, Thomas and Tree. Let's have a great webinar and let's get some useful information about OpenShift in connection with Open Telecom Cloud. So the stage is yours, Tree.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Thank you for joining us today. I strongly believe that this section is very interesting for all of us. So the agenda is that first of all, I immediately show you how to deploy OpenShift on Open Telecom Cloud. And after that, I will explain what is a self-managed OpenShift container platform. And the most important and also interesting part for you, if you want to run OpenShift on Open Telecom Cloud, is that what is the OpenShift license and how we can providing you the support. After that, Thomas, who is an expert in OpenShift, he will show you the difference between Kubernetes CCE and OpenShift. And then he will also show you what inside OpenShift and what is the key features with an interesting demo. So let's start. So first of all, I will show you how to deploy OpenShift. To deploy OpenShift on Open Telecom Cloud, you first of all go to Cloud Create. To go to Cloud Create, you go to the website of Open Telecom Cloud. On the right side, login, there's a Cloud Create link. Clicking on that, and now you can access to Cloud Create. To log into Cloud Create, you need an IAM account. If you don't have an IAM account before, then there's a tutorial here on the top. You can click on that and follow the tutorial to create an IAM account. Notice that we don't support for ICU login account, so you have to log in with an IAM account from Open Telecom Cloud. So first of all, now I have an IAM account already, so I log in it first with my account. So after log into Cloud Create, so what is Cloud Create? So this is like if you use microboard or microboard before, you see that there's a bunch of useful template, and you can right click on a template and reuse it right away instead of fighting with it from the very beginning. So Cloud Create is more or less the same. So here, where after you log into Cloud Create, there are many templates that you can write away, that you can use right away. For in this example, we have OpenShift and OpenShift in a high availability mode setup. So in this demo, you just click on the OpenShift. Each template has a slideshow so that you can see what you're gonna get after you deploy it. And each template also come up with a documentation. So the following step today, that if you cannot follow my presentation, you can also read the documentation again, and there are several screenshots so for you to follow so that you can do it at home. I mean at the office. So a template, there are two buttons. One button is that to quick deploy, which means you deploy OpenShift right away. Or if you are an advanced user, if you are a cloud architect or DevOps, you can also click on the design using this template. So you can reuse this template, you can modify it, you can extend it so that the template will adapt it to your individual needs of your application. So in this demo, I just click on quick deploy. To deploy OpenShift, you require some input for the deployment. So for example, the base domain. So this is the domain that will be registered at the domain name service of Open Telecom Cloud later on, so that you can use this domain to access OpenShift. So make sure that this domain is globally unique inside the DNS services of Open Telecom Cloud. So I click Save. For the mandatory parameter, we also need two more input parameter. One is the pool secret. What is the pool secret? A pool secret is a license key. So in this deployment, OpenShift will bring your own license. So you can get a trial license from OpenShift very easily. You just need an email account. Go to the website of OpenShift, register with your email account, and then you can go to the Red Hat OpenShift console. In the console, go to the download section on the left side. On the right side, go to the pool secret. This is and copy it. The pool secret is like a license key that you need it to deploy OpenShift. Now, so you click on the pool secret and enter the license key that I copied it before. And last but not least is the OpenStack password. This is just a one-time password. We don't save your passwords. That's why you need to input it again. OpenShift the deployments is require this password for the deployment. So this is the same passwords that I logged into Cloud Create before. So I type the correct password. So now everything's works fine. For if you have a key pair on the OpenTelecom Cloud Console, the Cloud Create automatically reuse your key pair so that you can use this key pair to log into your to the person host of the OpenShift. If you don't have a key pair before, you can have an option to input your SSA public key here for the OpenShift, so that you can later on access to the person host. For the customizations of OpenShift deployment, you have an option, for example, to define the NAT gateway specification. So this is the flavor. If you want, you can choose a flavor for the outgoing traffic of the OpenShift cluster. You have the option to choose the availability zone. So because this is not this installation is simple, so you can choose one from the three availability zones. You can also have the option to choose how many worker nodes per shift you may have, what you want to have, and the CPU and the memory size of the worker nodes. And that's just and after that, you can click on the deploy buttons to deploy OpenShift. It will take you about 30 minutes to deploy OpenShift, and we don't want to wait for that, so that we already deployed for beforehand. And let's take a look into that. After you click on the deploy button and the deployment is complete, on the necessary and important information for you will be output on the left side of the panel. Here I will show you the console. The console. I will close this one. The console. This is the OpenShift. The Open Telecom Cloud consoles. If you go to the ECE. ECS, you can see the virtual machine is already created. The worker nodes, the push, the master, the control node of OpenShift, the worker nodes, and also the person host, so that you can SSA to the person host to access to OpenShift. If you go to the domain name services, you can also see here that the domain name that I input before is automatically created, and it will point to the virtual IP address, the increase application IP address of OpenShift, so that everything is ready to go, and you don't need to do anything else. Here is a notice that you can see that the name server here is the name server of Open Telecom Cloud, meaning if you configure your local machine with the name server of with the name server of Open Telecom Cloud, this domain will be resolved to the correct IP address. Here I show you that no reserve console status. So I will show you that this is the IP address of the name server of Open Telecom Cloud, which means my local machine is already configured with a name server of Open Telecom Cloud. And with that, the domain names that I registered before OpenShift is available. So to access to the console of OpenShift here, console URL, here you can just click here and copy it, and then just access this for the so first of all is the deployment will automatically generate it initial passwords for you. So where is it here? So you can enter it and then you can access to the OpenShift. Yeah, so this is the OpenShift console. Thomas will show you later. Additional to the OpenShift console, you also can access to the SS8 and to the person host. And then from there you can the OC command lines is already ready for you on the person host, and then you can just so you access to the person host, and so just follow the documentation. You can access the person host, and then the OC command line is already ready for you, and then you can use it to start a way to control your OpenShift cluster from the person host. So I will not show you this because this will take more time. For that, I will, but you can follow the documentation to do it. Right. For the IP address of the person host here is also output after the deployment, so you also have it. Now I complete the first part. So the deployment OpenShift on Open.com Cloud. I have just show you that. In summary, if you cannot follow my presentation because I speak a little bit fast, just remember that Cloud Create offer you a qualified template so that you can use it right away, or you can use it to extend it, and then for your needs. We will continue to import or qualify template to Cloud Create. In the future, you will see that there are many more templates available for you so that you can reuse it or you can modify it. If you need any template, you can also contact us. Depends on the high demand, we will implement it, and we will import the templates for you. So what is left? What is about the template is that so this kind of this is a modular it's like a modular system that is enable us to dynamically integrate any, and I repeat again, any cloud solution out there on top of OTC in a short time. So with this solution, we can, let's say, reduce the time to market of a cloud solution integrated on with Open Telecom Cloud, and in the end of the day, we can enrich Open Telecom Cloud even further. So that is the first part, how to deploy OpenShift on Open Telecom Cloud. Now I will explain to you what is self-managed OpenShift. So OpenShift offer to, let's say, to category full managed and self-managed. Full managed is that there's a joint SRE team from Red Hat and a cloud provider who will manage OpenShift and services and your cloud infrastructure for you. For example, for AWS, they have a joint team between Red Hat and AWS. For Azure, they have a joint team between Red Hat and Azure, who will manage OpenShift service and your cloud infrastructure for you. And the advantage for that is that you can focus on your developments, but you have to pay for this as service cost monthly, even if you don't use it or not. Yeah, and for someone who did research in data privacy, for me, I always have a concern about data privacy, because if you have a team from Red Hat or from Azure, manage the data for you. So you may have more concern about data privacy. For the self-managed OpenShift, so you can bring up your cloud infrastructure by yourself, and you install it OpenShift on top of it, and you operate it and you manage it by yourself. It will bring you more flexibility. And at Open Telecom Cloud, we provide you with a free tool. It's a free to use tool, Cloud Create, that help you to bring up OpenShift so that you don't need to fight with it by yourself. And this is free of charge, so you can use Cloud Create. And last but not least, in compared to full managed or self-managed OpenShift, we provide you a maximum of control of your data. So that is the basic. I think it's a comparison between full managed and self-managed. Depends on the requirement of your application. Then you should choose the right operation model for you. About the OpenShift licenses, so Open Telecom Cloud is a third-party component for Red Hat. What does this mean? It means if you run OpenShift on Open Telecom Cloud, if you need support, the first contact of support is Red Hat. They have 24 hours per 7 days support, professional support. It also provide you with a powerful analysis tool so that you can collect your you can debug and collect the logs so that it helps you to identify the issues easier. So after this first contact, Red Hat can say if they see that this is the issues coming from their side, they will support you to solve the issues according to their level service level agreements. If otherwise, they will say that okay, this is a network issues. Please contact your cloud provider with the following details, and then you can contact us to say to open an incident, for example, regarding network issues. But in return, you don't need to pay for an ad service cost monthly, and the total cost is that you pay for the OpenShift license, and you only pay for the provisioning with cloud resource, the cloud infrastructure on OTC, meaning on Open Telecom Cloud, meaning you pay for CPU, RAM, gigabyte of the control node and of the worker nodes, or any additional cloud resource that you create on Open Telecom Cloud. So I hope this is clear, and I think with this I already complete the first part of my presentation. Now I will hand over to Thomas to continue. Thomas, the stage is yours.
My name is Thomas Wetzler. I'm a cloud architect at the Open Telecom Cloud. So I'm responsible for both for the back end and front end stuff. Yeah, what I like to show you now is why do you need OpenShift? So since normally if you're having trainings on OpenShift, this takes weeks. You can't expect that I can tell you in half an hour every detail about OpenShift. So I give you a brief overview why OpenShift is, for instance, a more stable choice than maybe taking Kubernetes. So I will first start with some cloud foundations, why you should take Kubernetes, why we are talking about Kubernetes, about OpenShift, Docker, and so on, just to see what's the difference between the classical IT, which maybe you still have on premise in your cellar, and why you should change to cloud business. So cloud business, there are three aspects you can say of cloud business. From technical point of view, everything has already been there in the 90s. But the whole business structure has changed. So there are economical aspects of cloud business, technological and organizational ones. Just to name one organizational stuff term, it's DevOps. It's a total new concept how to treat your IT infrastructure. Just to leave it like this, maybe if your of bringing your applications into the cloud, just to see that there's a difference between your former virtualization solutions you had in mind and the IIS stuff. Just for the management, have a look at the point of SLA. The term is the same, but it means a total different thing in a cloud environment, in a virtualization environment. Virtualization is you have the ability on VM level, so on application level, and in cloud you just have the SLA on service level. This leads leads to the next term we will talk about, that is the software design. So since you are not facing now with application availability, you are facing with service availability. The software architects started to think about building software which is failure tolerant. And so what came out a couple of years ago, several architects sat together and founded the so-called 12-factor app. So a real cloud application, like for instance, OpenShift or Kubernetes itself, is following the 12-factor app principles. I won't get through in detail now, but who is interested in getting applications to cloud, to OpenShift, should write down this URL, 12factor.net, and have a look in it. Following this principle is always recommended if you have to do something with cloud. So but the new architecture concept leads to so-called microservices. So you are splitting your application in small pieces, and these pieces have to be orchestrated. And for that, has been several solutions brought to the market to do that automatically. One of the most famous, the market leader, you could say, is Kubernetes. And as an alternative, OpenShift. So how it's compared? Yeah, hopefully, if you leave this meeting and someone is asking you about OpenShift, this slide here is a key message. OpenShift is sitting on top of Kubernetes. So Kubernetes is using, for instance, Docker, and so is orchestrating Docker containers, which are building the microservice I talked about. And this is all done by Kubernetes. And on top of that, there are additional functionalities. And these functionalities are bounded together to a product called OpenShift. So OpenShift has everything which Kubernetes has, plus some more additional functionality. And on that, the customer is coming in then, bringing in his own development. So symbolized here by the piece application of this puzzle, which is fitting then together so that you have a finished puzzle where you can run your application in and where your microservices are controlled completely by the landscape, by OpenShift. I won't get in detail now to the differences, but as you can see here, in summary, Kubernetes is from theory point of view not a fully PaaS platform. So what's missing is, if you go through this list, maybe the UI you're using. Then multi-tenancy, it's missing in Kubernetes. The built-in CI/CD capabilities are missing. Then you have, if you're installing Kubernetes, you have to do some architectural decisions, which OpenShift is solving by the product thinking itself. For instance, as you see here in networking, you have several modules in Kubernetes, Caligo, Flannel, and so on. This is how the inner network of the Kubernetes layer is integrated in the network of the cloud provider, for instance. And this decision has been already done with OpenShift. They have a software-defined network, so their own network, which is sitting on the cloud network itself. And then you have a special router to route it to the internet. But as I already said, OpenShift is sitting on top of Kubernetes. So everything what Kubernetes is doing, you can do somehow with OpenShift too, but you're losing the advantages of OpenShift. So, for instance, you can use the tools you're using to administer Kubernetes. You can use for OpenShift too, but you shouldn't do that because then you're losing multi-tenancy. So, as I already said, Kubernetes is not a complete PaaS platform. The service marketplace I show later a little bit, the alerting, monitoring, storage, and middleware and so on. These parts are missing, and these are included in OpenShift. So this is famous, or the most famous picture about OpenShift, you can say. This is the architecture picture. You can see here the hardware components and so on, the layers which OpenShift is consisting of. Now let's see, these layers are provided by the Docker product, which OpenShift is right on. Then the next level is done by Kubernetes, and only the yellow boxes you see, these are provided by OpenShift. So there you can see again the layer structure of OpenShift that is all relied on Kubernetes. There are even projects existing where you can just roll out the OpenShift services on an existing Kubernetes cluster, but that's not the recommended style how to install OpenShift. It's just students play, I would say. So I picked now one of this difference as an example of the added value. This is how to deploy an application. So this here is the typical way how you're deploying a microservice in Kubernetes. As you see, it's quite complicated. You're building a Docker file. This Docker file, so you have a build process, then you have your object Docker image. This you're storing in Docker registry. If you do not have a local Docker registry, then you're storing it to Docker Hub, for instance. There you can pull it and so on. So it's quite complicated, and you have to have a look if, for instance, that you have an account on Docker Hub, which is an external tool. So maybe you do not want to have to store for direct data privacy your image on Docker registry. And this is to be honest, you do not want to take care of it if you're developing your own application. And there, OpenShift is coming in. So in OpenShift has, for instance, a deployment process which is using an existing image, an existing Docker image, and you're injecting the code into this image so that you do not have to rebuild the whole Docker image. You're just injecting your code in the Docker image and it's able to run. This I will show you later on in the demo how easy this is going. And so the whole development and deployment process, it's much more easy than in Kubernetes infrastructure. This we will see later on in a short demo. So we'll see that now. I already logged in now to the OpenShift console. As you see, Tree already showed you. And here you see already the first advantage about over Kubernetes. This is that you have such a landing page. I'm logged in now as an administrator, but as you can see here, you can you can just integrate your existing user environment, which user management tool which you have in your company to OpenShift. So that is showing already that OpenShift is targeting companies, so that you have a fully integrated platform, which, for instance, if you have different departments, so that every department has his own. It's called project in the surrounding of OpenShift, and they are separated so that not one department can use stuff from the other department. So you have a full-blown system which has totally separated tenants. From technical perspective, this is relying on the namespace concept of Kubernetes, but on Kubernetes, so the technical object itself is existing in Kubernetes, but Kubernetes do not have the possibility to separate them exactly. And this is what Red Hat has done in OpenShift. As you can see here, you have like in a normal Docker orchestration tool, so in Kubernetes and so on, you have the same terms than in Kubernetes again. Here, pods which are there. Then you have, instead of namespace, you have so-called projects. If we are going, for instance, to namespace, to the projects, where is it? Here. There you, then you see already what's running in the background, which microservices are generating the OpenShift application. Here you see how many namespaces are generated by OpenShift. So that's what I said before. OpenShift sits on top of a Kubernetes installation and just does some additional functionality, puts some additional functionality on Kubernetes. So what I want to show you now, that is, I want to show you how to deal with that. So normally, if you're doing a development process or whatever, you're using a CI/CD pipeline, so a full automatic pipeline. You can read it that in the 12-factor app, that you should do all your, even your infrastructure stuff, you should do with infrastructure as code, for instance. So through a pipeline, so you code everything, and you never want to do something manually. So that's the reason why you normally want to use scripts, and you're working with a client tool in a shell, and so you have the possibility to do everything with the UI and to see what's going on with the UI. But normally, if you're doing a full-blown CI/CD pipeline, you would do anything you want, everything you want to do with OpenShift over the client, and there is the client tool existing. It's called OC. Why not OS? I don't know. I think OC for OpenShift client, and this is what we want to use. So because it's a tenant system, which is using users, you have to authenticate, and this is quite easy if you're doing it first time. You're going here to the admin user, copying logging in client. So I have to log in again. Display token, and here you have the OC command, which you're just copying, and then going back to the OpenShift, and then you're logged in, and here you see he's already using the project webinar. Otherwise, you can do OC project and then another project name, and you would automatically linked to this project. So in differentiation, what's behind the project name, this is a namespace on Kubernetes, And in Kubernetes, you would always say kube control, then maybe get pods -n for namespace, and then the namespace. And here you set it once with the term you're logged into this project, and you haven't to mention that anymore. So if you're doing OC get pods, he is searching in the webinar namespace. Here it's written if there are any pods. So they're not, because we didn't deploy anything. And this is the reason why nothing is shown. So what I'm doing now is, as I already said before, I'm deploying now an application in the style, in the OpenShift style. So you see here, I'm generating a new app, on a JBoss app. And then you see here, there's the tilde. And then there I have my coding on stored on a GitHub. So this is in Java coding, which I placed in here. And I'm just saying, please start this OpenShift JBoss container and place the coding I programmed within this OpenShift container and start it. Here you see he's generating the sources, saying it's success. We can have a look in the log files from console perspective. And here you see what's going on in the background. So build success. So what he's doing, he's getting the image from a built-in Docker registry. So he's not relying on the internet somewhere and getting images. OpenShift has his own registry built in. So when you're doing something, nothing is going into the internet on the Docker Hub and stored there. It's all local. So from privacy perspective, this is the best solution because you have full control over that. With Kubernetes, you have to build up your own registry, or using in OTC, we have SWR for that. But if you're doing here, you want to separate it on your own, integrate it in your tooling itself, OpenShift would be a choice. So as you can see, the app is deployed. Now let's see if something is started. You see here, we have now 2 pods. One is completed and one is running, and one is called insights build. So what he does is he's starting a pod, a microservice, which is building a microservice. And so the build process where he's fetching the image and then placing the source code in it, building a new image and deploying it on the OpenShift. This is the build process, which you can see here, which is completed, but the application itself, it's running. So the I can show you that it's running, that you are believing it to me. Oops, not running. Why that? Yeah, because there's again a security feature. What we have to do is we have to allow the application to reach the internet, and therefore the mechanism which is normally used by Kubernetes is the ingress controller, and this naturally they have 2 in OpenShift, and this ingress the principles are all the same. Then in Kubernetes you have so-called services. Here you see our application insights has a cluster IP. So if I would log on to the cluster using this cluster IP and the port number, I could access it. But since I'm on the Bastion host, so not on the OTC cluster itself, so it's going over a network. What I do now is I expose this service. So here it's exposed, and if you're used to Kubernetes, you have to generate a YAML file. You have to provision this YAML file into the namespace where your service is running, so that the service controller, the Inco service controller itself, is configured to forward the network stuff. Here it's just one OC expose, and it's done. And yet now let's see what he has done. Here you can see he started, he had the service here, and he assigned to the service the internal host name, DNS name. So inside there's a small DNS service so that you can access your ports, your microservices with a DNS name, and it's assigned to that with a port. And now, if you have a look, there it is. So what does this? Just a sidekick. What does this insult stuff? This insult stuff is generating insults from the age of from the English Middle Age, evil. And once I had a student in a trainee, and he could even read it because he was coming from Scotland or wherever. So if you can press it, and they're producing some nowadays not understandable insults at Shakespeare's time. This is normal thing in OpenShift literature. They are always doing this application. And this is the reason why it's here. So let's see. Yes, what I can show you now is just that you see here you have you can see on the web page now what I showed you already on command line. The web page has some other cool things, maybe the dashboard. So normally Kubernetes has no built-in dashboard. You have to install an Elk stack or Loki or whatever to monitor your application. And here you see it's all built in already. And no, this is API. Just a moment. And if you are going now to namespace, for instance, and here we are choosing our webinar, and there you can see our insights app microservice and how many CPU it's using. You can see we do not have set CPU quota. We have a memory usage here. How here is the build process. You see that, and this is our application itself. Here there's a legend, how you can read it. You can see how much traffic is going on the network for this application. All this stuff, this is all predefined by OpenShift, and that makes it to a full-blown PaaS platform, and all that Kubernetes doesn't have out of the box. There you have to install many applications on it to reach the same level of administration possibilities. Let's call it like that. Yes, since we already have 10 to 11, I have to stop now.
Thomas, maybe very short about the operator. That is something very special. 1 minute about operator, Thomas.
So is what I mentioned before, a marketplace in OpenShift. You have some you have templates in that which you can just choose, press on it, and it will automatically, for instance, install a Postgres. This is in trainings I always get Postgres. You have it from different vendors. You can choose one, and you just press on install, choosing choosing some options. Maybe if you want to have a cluster or whatever, you're choosing a specific namespace here in our webinar, pressing install, and it gets automatically installed in there so that you can use that. This is an advantage too. Yes, it's that you have already pre-configured microservices which you can just roll out with one click. What's behind that is again a Kubernetes term, an operator, which is just rolling out, deploying this application to your OpenShift cluster, and there you have tons of applications which you can roll out automatically. Here you can see for big data, databases, application runtimes, monitoring, and storage solutions, and so on and so on. So yeah, that's yes, indeed, this was quite important. Thanks, Tri.
So now we are more or less at the end of our presentation
Exactly.
and are approaching the Q&A session. How does OpenShift as a Kubernetes distribution enhance collaboration between development and operation teams? From Stefan.
OpenShift is a product of Red Hat. So it's not open source in that way. What Red Hat is doing, it's taking Kubernetes as an backend, and so I said it's a student play to install the microservices on Kubernetes. Normally, if you're installing OpenShift, you're installing a certain Kubernetes version with OpenShift. So it's a full-blown product. And so this is all done by Red Hat, or Red Hat is IBM, by IBM in the back end, and you can install it. It's like the Red Hat Linux. You can buy in support. This is one big differentiation to Kubernetes, that you can buy in support, that you're not relied on the open community, and this is what we are paying for. And for that reason, why that you have support, OpenShift as a product says you have to get the version we are providing for OpenShift, and you cannot install a free Kubernetes version. You always have to take the OpenShift one.
One last question, which I would also like to use for consolidating the session here from Artem. How does the process of creating, modifying, and resizing PVs and PVCs work in OpenShift? What CSI is being used there?
The documentation that I showed you before in Cloud Create in the template when we create OpenShift, the documentation I already write down how you can create the storage. So OpenShift is compatible with block storage and SFS and SFS tuple. You can follow the documentation to create block storage, SFS and FFS tuple, and how it's connected from OpenShift. The documentation has example and which command line or which YAML file you have to write. This is in the documentation. Just follow that. You can also define a storage class when you say you want to create the block storage in this availability zones, or is in a set of availability zones. That is also possible in the documentation.
All right. Thank you a lot for the answer. And also thank you to everybody who has put in some questions. Due to we are at the end of our time slot, so we are also at the end of our webinar. When there are any additional questions, you can rather use our OTC community portal to post them. There our experts will be there to happily support you with, or you also see here at the last slide the contact details of our two speakers. You are also able to directly contact them here via a short email. So when there is anything, just drop them a mail or put your question into the community portal. With this, I would say I give a big thank you to Tree and also Thomas for the great webinar we had here. Thank you for the whole preparation, for the whole 1 hour we had together with you here, and wish you all a good day. See you in the next OTC community webinar. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.